Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. And at the same time, I am also sitting in for Dr. Pat. Dr. Pat, who is the creator and founder of Transformation Talk Radio. And she's got an amazing show, talk radio to thrive by. And Pat, if you're listening to this, I created this show today especially for you because I know how much you love astrology. And so if you're listening, this is for you. I was envisioning this morning what you might be doing today. Like, are you like getting a massage somewhere? Or I thought, well, do I see her getting a massage right now? Is she playing ping pong? Or is she cooking up something new and amazing and exciting for us all in 2019? And I thought, well, the latter was probably it, because ping pong's a little too early, 11 o'clock. And I thought, yeah, that's what she's doing. She's cooking up something exciting. So I just want to, again, say how honored I am to be part of your amazing network. And I just want to thank all the people at Transformation Talk Radio and all the people here at KKNW, Benny, and everybody that is doing the job that you all are doing to support us transformational leaders so that we can come here and share our gifts with the world and inspire everyone, the audience and everyone, into greater levels of living and being. So when I was thinking about the show and who it is that I wanted to have on, I have one of my absolute favorite, most amazing astrologers on the planet here with me today. And that is Janet Hickox. Janet Hickox, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kornelia. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, I want to tell the audience a little bit about you and I. So we go back quite a few years, and you are one of my personal astrologers, one of my favorite astrologers. And you and I, we've done plenty of retreats together, and we banter back and forth together on astrology. And you're also a master teacher of human design, and you're a mother and you're a grandmother, and you have your own radio podcast called Meta Cafe, which you'll tell our audience about here in a little bit, and also how people can get in contact with you for private sessions as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for saying yes to coming here today, because we're going to have an amazing show that is going to inspire people into 2019 when we actually hit the ground running. Because all the planets, right?
Yep.
All going direct. And, you and I, I thought I want us to do the show the same way that you and I talk on the phone when we talk about astrology. So we're going to go back and forth, because one of my things is I tap into the galactic center. And the galactic center is the black hole in the center of our Milky Way galaxy. And we all are able to tap into that black hole and access the source consciousness that's available there for all of us, which is another reason why it's important to know where that falls in your chart and to intentionally access this, the galactic center. So Janet, when you and I get together, I tap into the center, we talk about astrology, and you validate it with astrology. And so why don't we begin with, well, first, let me tell the audience too a little bit more about the people that don't know me, the ones that are new to the podcast. I'm a spiritual teacher. My name is Kornelia Stephanie. I'm a spiritual teacher, master wealth coach, and I help smart, successful women claim their superpowers with their spiritual, with their emotional, and with their financial well-being. And so this is all part of my the gifts that I bring, because these are the things that I've done for myself. So I am so honored and excited to share this podcast today here with you. And Janet and I are just going to have a wonderful time. So tell us, Janet, what can we expect in 2019 as the gate opens?
Wow. I mean, we hit the ground running, Kornelia, because it'll be the first time, actually, day five of the new year. We hit a solar eclipse in Capricorn, and it sets the tone for the entire year. The very next day, the last planet in retrograde motion turns direct, and now we have that all signs ready to go. What is it? The green flag, if you will, that says, hey, let's move. So we can expect to hit the ground running, but we also have some really key things that we have to watch out for. And this is why I was really excited to come on here and talk to you, because I really felt earlier in the year, say like September-ish, as I was writing in the Energy Almanac for the next year about what was coming up. And I saw what was coming up, and I went, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to people, because if you don't know going in, then coming out of 2019, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble. So I was really excited to be able to share this, because I want people to be empowered to use these energies to their benefit in 2019. So, I can't remember the last time that we actually had January eclipses like that close to, the beginning of the new year. Mm-hmm. And it comes out of a time like you were just talking about with the galactic center, where today we're hitting that galactic center, the sun is, and has been yesterday, today, tomorrow, and into the winter solstice. And that brings us this opportunity to tune in to all of that juicy information that's coming to us. It holds the key to our evolution. It holds the key to our ever increasing consciousness here on the planet. And why wouldn't we want to tap into it, right? It's there for us to do that with. And that is kind of this thing that's setting the stage for this new year. And so tune in now, get all that information in, soak it in, and then take steps in the new year that make sense for you personally. So there are some key themes that I see developing for 2019. Do you want to get into that right away?
I do. I want to get to the juicy, because I really want to I want to have people at the edge of their seat, to where they're like going, that's exactly what I needed to hear right now, and let's go to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if we wanted to keep them on the edge of their seat, I could hold this paper up and just say, can you read through it? And tease them with this. But I'll tell you what I do. Every year when I begin to think about the astrology for the next year, or what the planets are going to be doing, I'm often just sitting and kind of absorbing some of the words, the key words that come up for me. So when 2018 began, I had these very key words, and then, believe it or not, they all sort of unfolded as the year went on. So the major themes for 2019, I believe, are going to be the things that we see unfold as we move into the year. And the very first one that I really tuned into was this idea of community and community building. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just a thought about community and who am I, as a part of a community. It was like, really, what do I want to build for myself, for community? Who supports me, and who do I want to support? And how do we support one another? That builds a very solid foundation, and you're going to need that foundation for this particular year. Beyond that, the year also holds a lot of creative self-expression for us. It's a 3-year, if we look at it from a numerological standpoint. And, of course, I look at numbers, I look at astrology, I look at human design, I look at Mayan astrology, I look at all of these different things. And the potential for us to be very creative and to find the niche through which we are here to communicate or express what it is that our gifts and our talents are is really important this year.
Yeah. And so, Janet, I just want to say, so for all of those that are looking at the first piece that you were talking about, the community piece, if you relate that back to the world, like, how do you want to relate to the world as the community? How do you want to relate to your personal community? And to really get clarity with that, I would like to offer everyone a question of something that they can do, a practical exercise they can do right to get to that. And that is, what do you believe? What do you believe? Put that question down, ask yourself that question, what do you believe? And that is really going to give some answers as to how you relate to community, and also give you insights as to standing up for what you believe and support you right away, right out the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting word to even throw out there, because just a month ago, the planet Jupiter, which is the planet that represents the archetype of our growth and expansion, moved into the sign of Sagittarius. And in that sign, we are all dealing with what is our truth. And what is it that truth really relates to? What is it we believe? What is it we believe? And then are we in alignment with what we believe? So that's another theme that's going on in the background that actually began in 2018 that will carry over into 2019. But I also see some very specific things that we need to be aware of. And now we're getting into the part that's going to be a little trickier for me to explain, because on one hand, we have Jupiter, the planet that also is bringing us optimism and this growth and this expansive energy. And then we have Saturn on the other end, Saturn and Pluto, and a year filled with Capricorn energy that takes us more to that constriction. Or as I look at it, I find there's a resonance with a new word, and that word, well, I'm going to give you a new word in a minute, but this word that I've never really resonated with, and that is conservatism. And conservation and optimism, like they're two opposite kinds of words. So we feel like we're being pulled in two different directions. On one hand, there are the planet Saturn is in its sign that it rules, Capricorn. So it has a lot of power. And what its power is about focusing us in, right? And having us build a solid foundation, right? We can't build a home on sand. If you did, it's going to collapse at the first big wind or rainstorm that comes along, right? So we have to have a solid foundation. And then we also have Jupiter in the sign it rules, and it wants to really grow and expand, especially in relation to our optimism and how we view the world. In these, so we have this optimism and this conservatism, and we have to learn how to walk down the middle line of both of these energies. So I have a new word then for everyone for 2019, and that word is stewardship. And it's an interesting word. And, this is all because I woke up one morning and I had this word in my head. And who knows where this word comes from? I mean, it's in my head, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I got to look up this word. And the word was stewardship. And when we think of stewardship, it reminds me of the book of Genesis in the Bible, where God says he gives us dominion. He gives man dominion over the planet and all of the animals and plants on the planet and the waters and all of this. And that, we've taken that as human beings as a reason for us to use and abuse the planet. Right? We've got dominion. So that means we're here to use up all the resources. And literally what that line was telling us is that we as human beings have stewardship over the planet. We're the caretakers. We're the nurturers. We're the ones that have the mind and the capability to understand another key word, and that's sustainability. How do we sustain things here on the planet? Is it sustainable to keep eating up all the oil resources? Is it sustainable to have billionaires in a country while other countries have famines and can't feed their children? So we're faced with these things, not because we're wrong or we've been bad, but because if we don't take stewardship, then we're not really going to have a planet left to be living on. And this isn't only just a global sort of thing. It is also true for you in your own personal life. Are you being a good steward of your own resources, your time, your money, your energy? And so this year is a year for us all to focus on that. We don't want to grow to the point where we're using up resources that we don't have or that we can't sustain, but we also don't want to constrict so tight that we can't do what we want to do. So we have to find that middle ground. So we have deliberate and cautious steps to take in this year. And that's, one of the things that we do usually at the new year is set New Year's resolutions. Well, this year, I think it's more important than ever that we have those kind of aspirations or intentions or goals, whatever you want to call it, down so that we really do have a plan and that we can execute that plan this year. One of the other key themes that I see, and this has nothing to do with, well, it does have a lot to do with Saturn and Pluto, but mostly with Uranus and Taurus, and that is financial impacts. I'm fairly certain about this, that there's a lot of things I see happening now that were happening back in 2006, 2007 that led to the Great Recession that we now call it. And every day in the news, even if you start to watch that, you see these financial impact themes starting to build up. So I want people to be aware of that, not to scare you and to, thinking that there's a depression or a recession that's coming, but to know that part of stewardship is also taking care of your own financial health and not looking to sources outside of you to sustain you, because you have the power yourself to do this, right? Right. And the last major theme I think we can think of for the year is going to be karma. Karma in all ways. And we may see that reflected to us from the outer world in the way things are handled in the government. We may see things that are in our own personal life where we are balancing out the polarization and the teeter-totter thing that's been going on in our world. So it's a huge year. And in that, some things are out of our control. Like, we cannot control what the government's going to do. We cannot control the financial industries, but we can control what we do and how we react to the things that are happening. And we get that opportunity right off on January 5th with the solar eclipse, right in the middle of the sign of Capricorn, which is kind of smack dab in between the placement of Saturn and Pluto. So we're already coalescing this energy around this idea of being more conservative this year and growing, but cautiously growing, right? Expanding, but cautiously expanding.
I want to add something to that, because when you're talking about it, it reminds me, well, first of all, I want to let everybody know we are the keepers of the garden. We are the stewards, the keepers of the garden. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the keepers of the garden here in a little bit.
Yes.
But what this is reminding me of, what you're talking about with Capricorn and this Capricorn energy of being conservative yet optimistic. So what that reminds me of, Janet, is that we're building our new world, and the unconsciousness in the way that we used to hoard and toxify our land and build before. What this reminds me of is the conscious stewards, coming at it from the God consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the awakened consciousness, being there and doing it step by step, not from a place of, all over the place, but literally, step by step, conscious step of building, from not from a place of fear, but from a place of love and from
Yes.
a place of community and, knowing that we are greater together than we are, apart. However, that everything that we're doing is supporting the whole and is supporting our Mother Earth. And that at the same time, we can still be optimistic and have, the infinite potential that's there for us, but to do it with caution, right? To do
Correct.
it. Yeah, got it.
Cautious. And, Jupiter is an interesting planet, as it is always related to Lady Luck, fortune, the expansiveness of optimism and etc. But it is also a planet that when there's a pandemic or an epidemic going on, that is also playing in the background, as in it is escalating beyond what is appropriate for a cell's development, let's say, if it's a tumor in your body. So we know that the planet Jupiter lacks discipline, but the planet Saturn is all about discipline. So we have these two titans, these two planets, and they're both seemingly, moving in opposite directions. But what I want to say about that is I think we can use that energy to be appropriate in the responses that we have to things, opportunities that are opening up in our outer world, or to the growth that we want to enact this year, and it being something that's sustainable. I mean, that's another big word for us to keep in mind is this sustainable? Can I keep doing this? Is it good for my family? Is it good for my foundation, etc.? So yeah, keeper of the garden, stewards of the land, stewards of our hearts. There's a lot of things that
New Earth ambassadors, New Earth. We're the builders of the new Earth. This, even though like right now we're in this most fertile time, and I just want to let everybody know that if you are not seeing the fruits of your labor, if you're not seeing, the things that you think that should have been manifesting by now, and all of these things, don't give up. Because right now we are in the most fertile time ever. And so just because the seed hasn't sprouted doesn't mean that it's not sprouting. And
right.
Right.
When we plant seeds, if you are a gardener or you're a farmer, and you plant a seed, there is nothing that you can do to make it grow any faster. We sort of have to put it in the ground and we water it and we do the things that nurture it, but we can't stand over it and watch it 24 hours a day and make it go any faster. But we can steward it, right? We can check on it. We can make sure if we're having hot weather that we give it some water, that if it's too wet that we, stop watering for a while. That's stewardship, taking care of, being aware of, and conscious of the steps that I'm taking to nurture this new growth, whether that seed is an idea or a literal plant or a job, a business, a relationship, no matter what it is, right? We have to be able to steward it and not smother it.
Even your ideas and your thoughts about your money, your health, your relationship, whatever, even the thoughts that you have about it, that the thoughts are positive, and that they are forward thinking rather than negative limiting thoughts, that it's not happening, that it's not happening fast enough, that you're the one that's changing your trajectory. You're the one that's building your foundation on wealth and peace and abundance and prosperity because you're choosing to.
Yeah, exactly. In my webinar I did a couple of weeks ago, I brought up a term for January that I thought was really kind of fun, but it really epitomized to me what it was that we were looking at as we moved into the new month and the new year. And that was that we are becoming warriors of light. There is this warrior sort of energy that we're playing with. And, we've used it to its negative exclusively almost on this planet, right? Where we've, been in wars, or we are always in infighting, or, in some kind of conflict. But if we're going to become warriors, let's become warriors of light. Let's use all of this wonderful energy that's coming in for us to be able to let more and more light pour into the planet, into your own DNA, and let that light then expand and allow you to grow organically, as opposed to, forcing things to happen or pushing our way into things. That is another, sort of theme that we can see that we run right into right in the beginning of January, is that idea of using light and allowing more and more light and illumination in. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So I want to say something about the light in the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
The light is coming in because these energies are not, it's not stopping. It's going to continue on. And
yes.
part of our spiritual and physical hygiene is we have to be able to make room in our physical body to take in all of that light. And because you cannot have the light and the dark together in the same space at the same time. It's either one or the other. And no matter where you're looking at it, from the spiritual, from the mental, from the emotional body, wherever you are. But the point is to be able to make room in the physical body for the light to come in. And the best way to do that is to drop the luggage, drop the dead weight, let go and surrender every single thing that is no longer in service to you. Anything outdated and that isn't wreaking abundance, prosperity, love, health, wealth. All the other stuff needs to go. And
bye
so quickly say, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I release it. I release it. I release it. Let it go. Because immediately let the light come in and do its work. The light is going to come in and do its work. And that is how we're going to build a new world, the new earth, as the light warriors that you're talking about. I call us the rainbow warriors, the keepers of stewards of the earth, that are here to build a new land, because we are at the greatest precipice right now of our humanity ever. Wouldn't you say?
At least for my lifetime, absolutely. And I would say even, for the last 250 some years, that this is a pivotal time for all of us. And not just here in this country, but all around the world. As citizens of planet Earth, this is a very pivotal time on the planet. So, we have to be very conscious of everything that we do, and actually making choices, and not just succumbing, and being conditioned in our responses to the way that we deal with the world. It seems like lately, the last couple of years, several years actually, it seems like everything is so polarized. And so we've been learning a lot about that, right? We've been learning that we are often one-sided thinkers, right? We're either identifying with the feminine or the masculine, or we're identifying in our country with the Republicans or with the Democrats, and with almost anything that you can think of. We have
the light or the dark, the light or the dark.
Exactly. And so we've kind of done that without realizing that we're the keepers of both, and that we have to bring those pieces of ourselves into balance. And this is a huge year for us to be able to work that through. But it takes consciousness on everybody's part. Not, we all have that choice, and we all have that responsibility.
And so we have to be committed. We have to be committed to be all in. To, this morning I posted on Facebook, you're going to love this. We are the champions.
I love it.
We are the champions, of the world. And that's really, truly who we are. We are the champions of the world. And that time is to really, again, recommit and be all in. Even though right now everything seems so, like there's so many structures, there's so many things that are coming down, but at the same time, there's so many things that are being birthed. So Janet, we have to go to break here. I want to, so right now we focused on the Capricorn Saturn energy that we're beginning January with. And when we come back from break, I want to talk more about the direction of the other planets like Mercury, Mars, and all those guys, because over this past year, it feels like we have just lived a retrograde year. In 2018, it's just like, it's been like, it's like everything has been,
every time you turn around, a new planet's on retrograde or going direct, it was like, shoo. Like,
and these are all personal planets, right? And so now they're all turning direct, and everything is turning direct, which means like now we're moving forward. So we better make sure that we have our heart and our mind working together as a team, and that the heart is the leader. And so that's what this has been about. So we're going to take a quick break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back.
You're live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. You're listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I'm with Janet Hickox, and we are rocking the astrology for 2019, hitting the ground running. And Janet is giving us all the goods, all the jewels about what we can expect from the astrology. So now we're going to focus a little bit on the personal planets. Right? Is that what you wanted to focus on now?
Yeah. So if you all had your own personal astrology charts in front of you, there are going to be a couple of places that you're going to see repeatedly energy crossing over for the entire year. And one place will be wherever you have Capricorn, and the other place will be wherever you have the sign Cancer. And sometimes that means there are two houses, one on each end, which are relative to the place in your life that's being affected. Or sometimes it may, straddle a couple of different houses. So there seems to be in everybody's chart that I've looked at so far, this key area where you're focusing your energy as far as the eclipses are concerned, and including Mercury's retrograde. At least one of his retrogrades is going to be in the sign of Cancer this particular year. So keeping that in mind, then these are the places where you're going to be dealing with this energy of holding stewardship and keeping your growth in check, right? So growing, but keeping it in check, and stewardship energies. There are two big dynamics that are happening, two recurrent themes that planets are connecting this particular year. One starts right out in January. We have Jupiter squaring the planet Neptune. And that's huge. It's going to happen 3 times this year, once in January, once in June, and another time in October, where they are bringing us this energy of eliminating toxins. And that's, if you want to grow, if you had a garden and you planted a seed, wouldn't you want the weeds out of the garden, right? Wouldn't you want to make sure that whatever you're using in your soil, it's natural and it's good and it's healthy? Well, that's what Jupiter and Neptune are going to be bringing to you. It is going to be a time for us to avoid any toxic environments, toxic emotions, toxic relationships, anything, that we're ingesting that's toxic. We want to be able to purify and cleanse. Why, Kornelia? Because we want more light, right? We want more light to be able to make it into our bodies. So that's one big one. And 3 times. Then we have another one that's also in January, Saturn in a sextile relationship to Neptune. So we have Neptune as a big, planet engaged this year as well. And this is one about developing a spiritual practice, building a foundation based in spirit. So, many of us have, meditation, type practices, or maybe we have a yoga practice, but this is a year for us to really build upon that. And if you're someone out there who doesn't really have a spiritual practice, this is a great time to start one, to make it the foundation of your day, to make it the foundation of your business, of your life in general. So that also 3 times this year is something that comes up to us, where Saturn and Neptune are building this solid foundation for us based in spirit. And it doesn't necessarily mean religious beliefs, but spiritual beliefs, right? However that plays out in your life. If we move on to Mercury is going to be retrograding 3 times this year. We're used to the idea of it retrograding, but it is the mind, right? And it is retrograding in water signs. And that means we are dealing with emotional energy. The queen of emotional healing over here,
Yeah.
She could tell you more about that.
Well, when you're talking, as soon as when you said, Mercury is retrograding in water, again, that means emotion. And so when a planet goes retrograde, it really means to rethink, to revisit, to relook, to re-examine, to re-see about what you think, because Mercury again is the messenger, the thinker. And so the opportunity, I think what that is, and also Mercury is the divine masculine energy, and he is the messenger. So he is going retrograde in water. Might as well say in water, in emotion. Our bodies are 80% water. We are made the same of the earth. We're 80% water. So we're being looked at ask, what is our thinking like, and is our thinking in organic with our positive light moving forward,
Yep.
or is it negative?
And, there's something else going on here too, is that, science more and more is recognizing that there are more connections moving from the solar plexus, the seat of your emotions, up toward the mind than there are connections that come from the mind down to the emotions. So we're always, our thinking has been that our emotions are something that is happening in our mind, and it isn't. Our emotions are happening in our solar plexus as a response to whatever's happening in our world. And then it feeds the mind that information. The mind then takes that information and runs with it, whatever direction it is that you might have a habit of thinking about what happens in the outer world and how it, it plays out in your personal life. So we're going to be really focused on that.
Example of that, like what you're talking about, an example of when you're talking about the emotion and the mind together. An example would be that you have a thought that's attached to an emotion, that's attached to a belief, and that you make choices based on that. So let's just say a thought that's attached to an emotion, that's a negative belief that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And that thought is attached to the emotion, I'm not good enough, that's attached to the belief, I'm not worthy. And then you're making choices that reflect that belief.
Right. That's perfect. And that's a perfect example. So the first one in March, the first Mercury retrograde in March is in Pisces. So it's dealing with our creative energies and our imagination, and whether we are using that energy of creativity to escape our problems, or are we using the energy to creatively move forward in our lives, to create new space for us to do things with. In July, we have another Mercury retrograde, and it will be in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer, to me, this Mercury retrograde is perfect. Like, if I had to choose a sign to have Mercury retrograde in, I would love it in Cancer, because it brings us back to home. And it brings us that nostalgic feeling of, when there were good times. And what is it going to take to get us back to that? I'm getting chills. That tells me that's like truth bumps here. And so that particular Mercury retrograde happens like July 5th through 22nd, I think it is. And, that's that time in the summer where we have more social time and we have more ability, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer and we're out and about, we're more social. And, going back to when things were simpler, when things were gentler, and remembering those connections that we had with people in our lives and how that felt. And then the third one, of course, is in Scorpio, and that one occurs from Halloween to November 20th. Scorpio is going to take us into the depths. It always does. It's about passion. It's about intensity. It's going to be about, what are we harboring in the depths? What are we holding on to that is not going to be something that we want to take with us on the rest of the journey? And so that's what Mercury is doing for us. Venus and Mars do not have any retrogrades this year. Thank God.
Yay!
We'll deal with that in 2020, but in 2019, no retrogrades from them. And the rest of the energies then are really going to be focused on this Capricorn and Cancer opposition, and by month, the different things that pop up. So let's see, what are we doing on time here? Because I want to make sure that we don't miss out on something spectacular that's happening this year. I want you all to take your calendars right now and circle September 3rd. And September 3rd is the day I'm getting, because I have the chart. I want to see, I don't know if I can show this and people be able to see this, but this is the chart for September 3rd. And if you're an astrologer out there listening, you see the mystic rectangle here, you see two kites, you see T-squares, you see all kinds of configurations. And in fact, this one day, what happens is there are 4 planets that are all on top of one another in the sign of Virgo. And they're the Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. All of the inner planets, right, basically, are all sitting in one sign at basically the same degree even. And they create 3 grand trines out of that and 4 T-squares. Now, you don't need to be an astrologer and understand what those things mean to understand that there's a flow of energy here. And that flow of energy is taking us back to our holistic selves. What I mean by that is if we've gotten little pieces of ourselves broken off all along because of breakups, because of bad emotional experiences, that baggage you were talking about earlier, right? This is the time. Bring them all together and heal, right? I think it might even harbor time for us to heal some of the rifts that we've gotten in between male and female, between, all of the different parties where division has been. This is our grand opportunity to bring it all together. The T-square points at Jupiter. It says, if you want to live and love, you have to grow consciously. You have to become the master of your emotions and master or mistress of becoming whole, purifying and becoming whole. So it's huge. It's a huge day. It is not just the one day. It really kind of builds and then it'll wane, but it's huge. And I wish I knew exactly, like if I had my little telescope glasses and could look in and see exactly what happens that day. I don't know, but I know for you as an individual, for me as an individual, it's about bringing all of ourselves back together.
That sounds so wonderful. So it's an amazing year for us to really step into our peace, our abundance, our prosperity, step by step, grounding it, building it into the world that we want to create, that we want to live in. So Janet and I, we created a special that we want to offer you, and we want to take these next 8 minutes now to tell you about what that is, so that you can have all the tools at your disposal, so that you're not alone, that you have what it is that you need to hit the ground running, and you have all the support and everything of the community. So Janet, do you want to begin with what your piece is going to be? We put together
absolutely
for you.
Yeah. So recognizing that the things that we're talking about today are, on a global scale, right? So that it's not personalized. There's not much I could say about you, John Smith, and how this affects you. But if I offer you a reading of your personalized astrology chart for the year, we can look at where are the 2 places or 3 places that are going to be the most intense for you. Because if you want to be empowered to live your life on your terms, you want to know where you're going to have the sticking points. And so a reading for that is going to help you. And as a bonus for anybody who purchases the reading, they're going to get their free natal astrology report added to that. But there's more, right? I like that. We can have a commercial here, but there's more, because I can give you all of this information about what's happening in your personalized chart. I can give you the pathway, but a reading isn't necessarily going to help you heal the things that are standing in your way. Kornelia is going to be offering that part. Kornelia, why don't you tell them what it is that you're offering as part of this to help them get through the things that might stop them.
So I'm going to help you claim your superpowers in whatever category keeps you up at night. Why can't I get my money flowing in? Why am I not seen, valued, heard, or respected? Why does my addictions, habits still keep me sabotaging myself? Why can't I leave this toxic relationship even though I know I'm not happy? And why do I feel paralyzed to move forward, not following the pursuit of my dreams? So because Janet is going to give you this amazing reading about the potential of 2019. And then usually what happens after we get a reading like that, a couple weeks later, the subconscious negative limiting thoughts that we were talking about set in. And that is when the limiting behavior starts again. And we don't follow through what it is that the inspiration that took place with the amazing reading. So Janet and I are offering this together to support you. My bonus is going to be, I'm going to offer you my Keeper of the Garden course, which by itself is a 21-day audio course that helps you pull the weeds, helps you pull the emotional weeds, clear the triggers, release everything that's not in alignment with you for 21 days in 10 minutes a day. Singly by itself, the Keeper of the Garden is $21. As a bonus for what we're offering here today, you're going to get it free. And it's going to support you in setting up that spiritual practice that Janet was talking about earlier. So not only is it going to support you with clearing your emotional debris, pulling the negative weeds, but it's going to help you set a spiritual practice every single day, beginning 2019, seeding your peace and gratitude garden in with what it is that you believe in addition to having a session with me. So I recommend that you all, get your reading done with Janet. And after you're done with Janet, take a while and then contact me later to schedule your reset session. Because once you sign up and schedule a session with me, we're going to reset your trajectory so that you can build your foundation on wealth and prosperity and abundance, pursuing your dreams from that place of being spiritually, emotionally, and mentally grounded into the new earth, listening to that inner self that wants to lead the way. So that's what we're offering, Janet, right?
Well, right. And we haven't even mentioned the price yet, because together, if you were to do these without a special going, it would be upwards of $350. But because we are so passionate about wanting to get this information into people's hands for this year and to be able to heal the things that are holding them back from total and full consciousness about what it is they're doing, we're offering this for you at $179. And that's both including the astrology reading for 2019, your free natal astrology report, the session with Kornelia and her 21-day Keeper of the Garden for $179. And we're doing this for you for those who act soon, like through the winter solstice, right? That'll be Friday. Friday's the winter solstice.
That's the call to action. Everybody, yes. Don't sit on this and wait. Take advantage of this special now, because we're only keeping it open till the winter solstice. And that is this Friday is when this special will go away. So I really encourage you to purchase this gift for yourself and begin your year 2019 empowered, so that you can have a reading with Janet, and then you're going to get an empowerment session with me in whatever category: your health, your relationships, your spirituality, your money, whatever is the thing that keeps you up at night that you really want to clear and work on. You're going to get a mantra, you're going to get a reactivation, and all for the price of, what was it, Janet? What was
$179, which if you did that separately with either one of us would be more than that. So there you have it, something really spectacular coming your way. Is the link where people can purchase this being shown on the screen for them right now?
It is. The link is being shown. But Janet, I want you to tell the listeners where they can get it on because we posted it, a landing page on your page.
Okay,
so,
yep.
Could you tell the listeners where they can get that?
Yes, you can go to www.livinghyphenastrology.com/Kornelia with a K, KORNELIA.html. And we'll post the link along with the rest of the advertising for the show. And I'm sure it's on the screen right now where people can go to that. But I want to say something else about this. And I know we're getting low on time here, but as Kornelia said, I'm her astrologer. Well, she's also my go-to person when I'm experiencing a block or an issue in my life. And she is absolutely fantastic when it comes to being able to help you work through this stuff. I mean, literally, wasn't it, Kornelia? I had an issue. You worked with me one day and boom, it was sort of like it went away. I don't even know where it went. It was like, boom, right? There was some emotional thing that I was holding on to. And she got me to it. And once I recognized it, it was gone.
And that's the beauty of it. Yeah, it's
the beauty of it. It's boom, and it's so effective. And I would recommend that for anybody, even if you didn't have the astrology part, but get the astrology part because
they're a good fit. That's why we came together to do it. Janet, yes. I want to tell everybody how to get to your website again. Give him your website, give him your email address, and then I'm going to do mine. So.
Okay. My website, www.living-astrology.com. And you can reach me at livingastrology111@gmail.com. So livingastrology111@gmail and living-astrology.com for my website.
Contact me at radio@korneliastephanie.com, and you can also go to my website at korneliastephanie.com. The Keeper of the Garden is for sale there for $21 to get you started if you don't want to take advantage of our amazing special today that's going to really help you in your foundation beginning 2019. And text the word Kornelia to the number 22828 and sign up for my amazing newsletter that always shares content and everything for our evolutionary experience here on planet Earth. It's been an amazing time. Thank you, Janet Hickox. Thank you, listeners, Dr. Pat, Benny, everybody. Have a wonderful solstice, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
All clear, ladies.
Thank you, Benny. Lots of love.
Thank you.